Lord help me, I didn't want to have to talk about Dave Rubin again, but we're going to talk about Dave Rubin again because I couldn't believe this clip. So credit to Dave Rubin clips that showed the world this on Twitter. This is really something else. Dave Rubin apparently thinks he debunked COVID with logic in this clip.
None of it makes sense. Why is it that not one country, somewhere perhaps in Africa, that didn't have the technology or the wherewithal or the information to deal with this thing properly, why did not one country fail? Why didn't we find one city that was completely infected and everyone died? All of this stuff. Like, I'm just asking questions here, okay? I don't mean to be a crazy right-wing conspiracy theorist when I say all this. I'm just asking the questions.
He's so dumb. It's astounding how dumb he is. Dave, 605,000 Americans died as of right now, as of the recording of this. And a little over 4 million people around the world died. Is that not pandemic enough for you? Does that not count unless an entire city in Africa dies? I'm not putting words in his mouth. You saw what he said. Go back and listen to it again if you don't believe it. And I wouldn't begrudge you that because if you go back and listen, it's like you can't believe he says it, so you want to listen again. Oh, man. Yes, Dave, there are some diseases that are just incredibly dangerous and they have a mortality rate of 90 or 100%, you know? Actually, rabies is like that. I believe there's a vaccine for it, which is why you don't really see cases of it in the U.S. much at all. But big problem in India and other places is rabies. Rabies, if you don't get the vaccine or immediate treatment with antibody treatment, when you get it, you could die from it. It's like 90 to 100% fatal. Ebola virus, same thing. But you have to, in order to get Ebola, you have to come into contact with the bodily fluids of somebody who had it. So it's not as infectious, but it's like, you know, depending on which variant or variation or strain of Ebola it is, it could be anywhere from 50% to 90% deadly. There's actually one version of it that apparently you don't even get sick if you get it, which is interesting. But so there are some illnesses like that, some viruses, some diseases, but there's also diseases that have like a 1% to 5% death rate, or like a 0.05% death rate, or like a 0.01% death rate, but they're also massively contagious. And so they spread way easier. Some diseases are airborne. So like COVID, for example, spreads a lot easier than even the flu. The flu spreads relatively easy, but COVID spreads even easier. And so you're going to infect colossal numbers of people, and if only 1% or 0.05% or 0.1% of the people die, you get giant numbers for death. So, like I told you, over 600,000 Americans dead and over 4 million people around the world are dead from COVID. I guess what I would ask Dave is like, do you, in your mind, does something have to be like 50% mortality rate in order for you to care? Or higher, 80%? Does an entire city have to die in order for you to say, okay, yeah, this is a big problem? I'm genuinely curious because I'm floored at the fact that he asked that question the way he asked that question. What did you think? You got everybody in a logic chokehold about how COVID's actually not as bad as everybody's making it out to be? Tell that to the over 600,000, Americans, family members who saw their loved ones die. Tell that to them. Or people who've had severe symptoms. I'm not even counting the people who had severe symptoms and were hospitalized and barely survived. I have a neighbor a few doors down from me who barely survived. Tell it to them. The whole city in Africa didn't die, so checkmate, libtards. I'm a classical liberal. That's what I am. Looks to me like you're a classic moron.